like engineering, visionary, engineering the vision, engineering the reality. That your history, events don't control your thinking. Possibilities, reality. You want to create a society or a system or a way of life that you picture in your mind. And you can do it. White folks did it right here with America. They developed America. Then they developed a vision. Remember Manifest Destiny? Manifest Destiny. In history. Manifest Destiny. 1830s and 40s. That America will be a two-ocean power from the East Coast. At that time, they're still on the East Coast. But they visualized America as a two-ocean power. In the early stages, they brought in 1803, Lewis and Clark, remember they brought up the Louisiana Purchase? Louisiana Purchase, man, from France, that was big. It went all the way out, up and out to the Pacific coast. In the 1840s, the Mexican War. First they stole Texas, 1836. Then a few years later, the Mexican War, they stole the whole thing. California, Arizona, New Mexico, right? They had already stole Texas, Colorado, Nevada, nieve, snow. They stole 25% of what's now the United States from Mexico. They stole half of the country. They stole half of Mexico. Why? Because they had a vision of America being a two-ocean power. From the Atlantic to the Pacific. That means that Manifest Destiny was like a vision. Now, it was going to be an Anglo-Saxon, that's part of the vision. It's going to be controlled by Anglos, not Latinos. Anglos, that was part of the vision. Anglican American vision. And they called it, they wrote all in their books, Manifest Destiny. And they did it. They didn't have nothing in there about, well, we don't want to hurt no Indians or nothing like that. They didn't have that in there. In fact, they studied. Why can the Indian fight so well and be so mobile? So, well, they eat the buffalo. They built their tents out of buffalo hides, and they worship the buffalo. Wonka Tonka. Well, the buffalo is not the god, but he's up there in the crew. He's big. So they said, well, if we get rid of the buffalo, right? That's what he worships. That's his mobility. That's what he eats. That's where he lived. They sent white folks out on trains, and they shot buffalo from the train. Isn't that? Look, you're dealing with a diabolical mind. When they ain't got no buffalo, they started a fad in Europe and back east. Buffalo robes. Kill all these buffaloes, skin them, and then you can't eat them all up. So you don't skin them, send the buffalo robes back over to Europe. People was wearing buffalo robes, and they was wearing all that stuff back back east. After the buffaloes was all gone. Remember, there was a time they rejuvenated buffalo herds. But when we were younger, it wasn't but a handful of buffalo left. From 6 million almost to zero. They had a few buffalo for movies and stuff like that. But they didn't roam the wilderness anymore. They just didn't do it. All that grass, a sea of grass, all of the Midwest. The buffalo had it good. I don't want to change the subject, but then your friend, the white man, gave the Indians blankets with smallpox on it. Can you? I guess you can't really. Because there's no reason to do that. They're already on the reservation. They already finished. And this guy, let's wipe them out all the way. That same mentality is in vogue now. The only thing is that it's been concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. America used to be where, okay, Masons had a little power over here, this group had a little power over here, the Whig Party, they disappeared, the Republicans, and they had, it was diffused, the Know Nothing Party and all of that. They had a little diffusion. The diffusion, you know, like the law of the concentration of wealth and the concentration of resources. Communists talk about it all the time. But it's true. The wealth has been concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. And they say it all day and they don't know, they don't understand. One statistic said 8 people own more than the whole half of the rest of some silly stuff like that. Right?
Yeah. No.
That's insanity. So now, you know what we're up against. You got to remember, they got everything, they use everything for their benefit. So the CIA, formed by ex-Nazis, some of them ex-Nazis in 1947, what's their job? Their job is to keep wars going all over the world, to destabilize the world, so that their employer, the arms manufacturers, right, can make money all the time. Why is it endless wars? Why do they study every country to see which tribe don't like each other? And let's start something. Because they're not thinking on a worldwide level. They're thinking on their local, little tribal level, right? That's why if we was thinking on a little Negro level, we would have been fighting 4 or 5 times Negroes around here. We never did it. Why? Because we knew the rule. If we start fighting each other, you'll let the criminal get away. You'll let boss man get away because you can't. And who do they do it with? Everybody, right? Niggas making too much money in this rapping and all this stuff, right? So we get East Coast rappers to kill West Coast rappers and vice versa, right? Why does that always happen? That's the rule. They use that. Divide, conquer, and rule. That's the way they do it. They don't, and it ain't new. Pharaoh did it. Remember it said that Pharaoh broke up everybody up in little groups, each section. He broke everybody up in sections. Why? Because in sections he can control them and he'll keep them arguing with each other and they'll leave him alone. And he'll feed this group a little bit. When they come up a little, they'll slow down a little bit and feed the other, keep them balanced. Dual containment, that's all. Triple containment. Quadruple containment. Keep everybody contained, arguing and fighting each other. But never working in unity and harmony. You know, they got it down so slick that in British colonialism, they would give minority tribes education and all of that stuff. Usually the missionaries would give them education and all that. When they first got liberation in Africa, most of the people had been educated in missionary schools, not Islamic schools. not anything like, not native schools, but they destroy the education system, then they bring in their people. They always gave the minority tribe all those facilities. Why they didn't give it to the majority tribe? Because if the king got enough people organized, he would fight against British colonialism. But if you gave the minority tribe all the goodies, they would always be beholden to boss man, because no matter what country, the minority going to get a little scratching. They're not going to exterminate the other. But even in Africa, yeah. You know, one thing about Africa, when I was there, it's still similar. Like when Idi Amin was in, his whole tribe was in. If your tribe is in, hey, happy days here again. When your tribe is out, goodbye, brothers. Everybody got to go. That's the way it is. It's tribally based, at least it used to be. They know that. Divide, conquer, and rule. I'm going to speak up. Visioneering is engineering a plausible, causable, possible outcome for the good. Your planning should be based on the good that you do, not protection against your people. Your planning should be productive. It should be service-based for the people, not hatred-based for the people, not suspicion-based for the people, but goodness-based. Visioneering. That means you're going to engineer that vision, right? And that's where we are now. Technically, that's what I'm supposed to be talking about. But you know, even this little stuff that you dropped in for here and there, very few people know how to link that history together with what's going on. That's what longevity do. You not only live a long time, but you talk a long time, because you got a lot to talk about, and all of it not only makes sense, but it fits into this. That you want to go here, then you should be aware of this, that, and other. Because Imam, it's an old article, that there are traps in the system in the society. And people that have hikmah, real ill, they should be able to tell you, lead you, and guide you to avoid the traps of the system. That's the job of good leadership. They can tell you this is trap number one, trap number two. Okay.
This same thing happened a couple weeks ago where a brother called me and said, "Man, did you hear about what happened in a particular community in New York where supposedly it was some conflict between the Muslims and a particular gang?" He was like, "Man, you ain't hear it's all over the, the internet." And I was like, I hadn't heard it, but from being here, you kind of give, yeah, man, that sounds like a setup. Well, then he called me a few days later and said, "Man, that joint didn't even happen, and somebody made it up, but it was put on the internet, as if it was." For us to react.
As though it was real.
As though it was real.
So we have to free ourselves. And part of the mission of the As-Sabiqun Liberation Organization, or As-Sabiqun Liberation Movement, remember we always talked about expectations, and that's part of our mission. We are As-Sabiqun. So far, we've lived up to that As-Sabiqun. We looked at the environment, analyzed it, and we have, on each occasion, looked at where we are, where the rest of the world is, and where the possibilities of where it's going. And on every occasion, we've got out in front of it and we've arrived there on schedule, ahead of schedule, ahead of their schedule. And all this stuff that's going on, we're way ahead on it. We arrived here and As-Sabiqun come and they do the job before it should be done. They go on about their business. That's what we're doing now. Because nobody is even caught up or paying attention to technically where we are now. If they are, they're not saying it. So it's our duty now as As-Sabiqun don't wait for people to catch up. Because boss man is moving at breakneck speed. You know what I mean? He's moving at breakneck speed, and he is not only on the psychological struggle, but on all the other struggles, the battlefronts. That boy is on the move. I mean, what's the books? What kind of capitalism do they call that?
Oh, surveillance capitalism.
Surveillance capitalism. But it's deeper than that. Do you know, we all know now, you know, to surveil somebody used to have to go, the police used to have to go, it's phony of course, but they used to have to go get a warrant, get permission from a judge to surveil you. Remember, and it was 10, 20 years ago, 98, 99, we was talking about what they're going to do right now. We call this stuff, what do we call it?
Scientific.
No, but we call some of this stuff like, not science fiction management, scientific management on the condition of repression, but we talked about a constitutional dictatorship. Constitutional dictatorship, we had a constitution then, we have a constitution now. I'll get to it later, but we need a new constitution. And we should have a constitutional convention, a minimum of every 20 years in the future. I'll talk about that later. Because this constitution is over 200 years old. It can't keep up with it. Thomas Jefferson said we should have a revolution every 20 years. Why? Because after 20 years, people learn how to game the system. The people that are in pocket, they know how to game the system. And the people that are just voting and walking around, you know, you got to remember who wrote the Constitution. George Washington, them, the head of the army, past governor down in Patrick Henry, all them boys, the governor of Virginia. The richest man in America was Benjamin Franklin. And everybody fought the revolution. Look at the Declaration of Independence. Boy, it's a nice, what is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for everybody. That's the Declaration of Independence. Look in the Constitution, see if you find all that. The Constitution didn't let women go. Called niggas 3/5 of a man, human being. You get 5 pigs, you get 5 pigs. You get 5 horses, you get 5 horses. You get 5 niggas, you equal 3 niggas. Right? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. If you didn't have property, guess what?
A white man.
You couldn't vote. White girls, they jumping up and down now, but they couldn't vote neither. Right? In fact, 100 years ago, that's when they got the right to vote, 100 years ago.
That's right.
100 years ago.
That's right.
Hey man, they was marching in the street for 40 or 50 years. The temperance movement to stop people from drinking, because, I don't know how I get distracted here, but there's a book called The Alcoholic Republic. when you used to go to court, like the judge would take a drink, they pass the bottle around, the defendant take a drink. It was you know, y'all don't remember the alcoholic republic. It was, alcohol was everywhere, smoking was everywhere, and spittoons. I told my daughter, do you know what spittoons is? You know, a spittoon. I say, every saloon and everything had, like they had ashtrays, they had spittoons where you spit in there. Oh, that's gross. I said, they had them everywhere. People was coughing, you know, people was probably sicker than they are. They was coughing and everything and spitting in the spittoon. Like they had spittoon, they had in the alcoholic republic, everybody drank. So the husband was getting drunk and coming home beating their wives. They wouldn't think about beating. You remember the old movies? They slapped women around like the older the movie get. They would beat women. You can't do that now. Well, they might do it someplace, but they don't do it here in America. They don't show nothing like that. If they do, the woman duck and kick you upside the head and throw you down. In fact, the women is whooping the brothers pretty bad, pretty much now. Usually 50-50, they come out on top as much as you know. They choreograph the fight, so you would think, boy, these modern women can really fight. That's what you would think. But you could bust women upside the head, they drag them by the hair. It was really, that was the custom. Wife beating. You couldn't, a wife can't testify, she used to couldn't testify against her husband. Yeah. And now, the white women is treating niggas as bad as anybody. And we supposed to be allies, remember? Hey, man.
They used to have the court, hold the court in the saloon.
In the saloon. Hey, man. The point is, we have to have a vision of the world we want to live in. That's what 2020 vision is about us. We have a picture of the world we want to live in. And now we're organizing to do that. So I'll probably be going back to California soon. But when we get back there, anything we have to support, when I talk to the jury, which I'm fighting my own case, I'm fighting this case, but I'm going to take